I've been watching him for years, craving his blood, but now I realize he's the one I need. I never asked for a sports car, but my dad, in his midlife crisis glory, decided that his bookish, fantasy-loving son needed one for his 18th birthday because obviously nothing screams Jasper like a sleek, ridiculously expensive, totally impractical car. Still, I couldn't complain too much. The leather seats were comfortable, and right now my two drunk friends were passed out on the back, snoring loud enough to shake the heavens. "You gotta live a little, Jasper," they had nagged earlier that night, pushing a drink into my hand. "You're legal now, party, be reckless." Reckless, right. If the definition of reckless meant sipping an overpriced cocktail, which tasted like medicine, by the way, pretending to enjoy the club's headache-inducing music, and then becoming their glorified Uber driver, then sure, I was wild. I dropped them off, waved goodbye to their barely conscious faces, and finally drove home alone. The night stretched before me, dark, quiet. The road was empty, save for the occasional flickering streetlight. I exhaled, relaxing for the first time in hours, until the fog rolled in. Thick, unnatural, too fast. I stiffened. Oh no. This had happened before. 13 years ago, I was a kid, lost in the woods, my knee bleeding. And just like that night, the mist curled unnaturally, heavy and suffocating. My headlights barely cut through it. I kept driving, trying to shake off the unease gnawing at my chest until... a shadow. I barely had time to react. My foot slammed the brakes, the tires screeched, my body lurched forward, and my heart nearly punched its way out of my ribcage. A man had been standing in the middle of the road. Panting, I clutched the wheel, my knuckles turning white. My pulse roared in my ears. I squeezed my eyes shut, breathed in, out, and then I forced myself to look. Nothing. The road was empty. No. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't hallucinating. He was there. Shaking, I scrambled out of my car, my breath visible in the cold air. Hello? My voice had cracked. Are you... did I hit you? Silence. The street was deserted, the fog swirling, whispering against my skin like unseen fingers. And then, footsteps. Slow, measured. A low, lazy whistle curled through the night. Then, he stepped out of the fog. Tall, dark, a black leather jacket hanging off his frame like he belonged in some forbidden underground world. His face, sharp, striking, pale as the moon, was exactly the same as it had been 13 years ago, as if time hadn't touched him. My breath hitched. You, I swallowed hard. You can't be real, he smirked. Define real. My stomach twisted, his voice deep, smooth, edged with amusement, sent a shiver down my spine. I saw you, I whispered. I remember you. Do you? He took a step closer, and here I thought you'd forgotten me. I shook my head, mind racing. This wasn't happening. But you should have aged. You should be... Should be what? Another step. I took an instinctive step back. He was close enough now that I could see the way that the streetlights reflected in his dark, knowing eyes. Close enough that I got a whiff of the scent of something rich, something dangerous. His eyes trained into mine longer, as if he wanted me to freeze, and I had to accept that there was some sort of power in those dark orbs, but I hardly felt anything over my petrified mind. Who are you? I whispered. He tilted his head as if considering the question. You already know, he murmured. I swallowed, my throat dry. No, I don't. The smirk deepened. Then I guess we'll have to change that. Another step forward, my heartbeat stuttered. Too close, too smooth, too unreal. You've smelled like temptation since the moment I met you as a little kid, he murmured, his voice dark, rich, dripping with something that sent my heat curling into my stomach. But now, his gaze flickered, dragging over me slowly like he was savoring the sight. Now you're mine. A month later. It had been a month since that night. A whole month convincing myself that I had hallucinated the entire thing. I mean, sure, I wasn't drunk that night, but I was exhausted. Sleep deprivation does things to a person, and seeing a vampire, that was right up there with spotting Bigfoot or believing my GPA would magically fix itself. So I moved on, focused on my usual routine. School, homework, pretending I had a social life. Everything was perfectly normal, except for the occasional spine-chilling sensation that someone was watching me. Yeah, that. It didn't happen all the time, just enough to consider filing a restraining order against thin air. The worst part? Every time I crossed that graveyard shortcut to my house, the feeling intensified, like an invisible hand trailing down my neck, but all I could find was a raven sitting on a gravestone. Sometimes I even heard a low whistle drifting in the wind. But that was crazy, right? Right. Too much studying obviously fried my brain. Then came the rain. It was raining tonight and the wind was howling like it had a personal beef with humanity, rattling the windows of my bedroom as I sat hunched over my notes. Tomorrow's test was going to destroy me, and if I didn't memorize these formulas, I was going down with it. I ignored the eerie feeling of being watched, shoved my paranoia into a dark corner of my mind, and got up to close the window before the storm turned my room into an indoor pool. And that's when it happened. The edge of the window glass nicked my finger, just a tiny cut, barely a drop of blood. I hissed, shaking my hand. Great, just what I needed. A gust of wind, a blurred motion, and suddenly, someone was gripping my wrist. I froze. My breath hitched. Cold lips pressed against my fingertips, and then, oh holy mother of nightmares, he sucked the blood right off of my skin. My brain short-circuited. I looked up, and there he was. Tall, pale, devastatingly sharp features, those eerie, hypnotic eyes locked onto me like I was his last meal on Earth. No way. The hallucination, the one I swore wasn't real, the vampire I had convinced myself didn't exist. He was real, and he was sucking my freaking blood. My knees buckled, the room spun, my vision blurred. Oh, I whispered, because apparently that was the only thing my brain could manage before consciousness noped out of existence. The last thing I registered before everything went dark, strong arms caught me before I hit the ground. Xander's point of view. I never thought I'd feel warmth again. Yet, here I was, holding Jasper, human, fragile, alive. His heartbeat thrummed against my chest, a cruel reminder of everything I had lost. I smirked, amused. A human mate, I muttered. What a joke. But you're my joke now. I laid him on the bed, watching the steady rise and fall of his chest. Hours pass and I memorize every detail. Soft features, freckles that begged to be traced. My fingers twitched, aching to touch, but I stopped myself. He was too delicate. And strangely, I wanted to protect him from me. I still remember the first time I had tasted him. He had been a child tripping through the woods, a jagged rock tearing at his knee. The scent, God, the scent had drawn me in. I had knelt beside him, whispering soothing nonsense, and before he could protest, I licked the blood and healed the wound. I had meant to leave, but the blood lingered, carving itself into my existence like a curse. Or maybe a boon. Through the years, I watched him grow, from a gangly boy to a young man who sat in the lecture hall, twirling a pen, unaware of the predator who stalked his every move. I had tried, more times than I could have count. The moment I came close enough and felt his proximity stir something within me, I would reach for him, drawn by an undeniable pull with my fangs out. But every single time, something stopped me. It was a shock, sharp, brutal, ripping through me the second my fingers neared his skin. A pulse of electricity, like a barrier, kept me from him. I had thought the first time it was a mistake, a fluke, but no. I wanted to use my power of hypnosis. But for that, I needed to touch him. Then there was this time in the park I waited, watching him alone on the bench as the sun set. Slipping behind him, I reached out, fingers trembling to touch his neck, just as the warmth sent a shiver through me. Bang! A jolt of electricity, a scream of frustration. I cursed and left before he turned, unaware of the danger so close. None of those attempts, none of those brief, tantalizing moments has been enough. It was as if something, some force, was keeping me from him, as if the universe itself was trying to protect him from me. But something snapped that restrainment of spark on the day that he turned 18. And after 300 years of my existence, I felt my cold heart warm. And suddenly, my eyes weren't seeing him as a meal, but rather as a person who meant something to me. A vampire's heart is an empty cavern, long past the days of life and love. And yet, somehow, mine still strived when I saw him as if walking from a long slumber. And I knew what it meant when I sucked his blood from his finger cut again. He was mine, my human mate. Jasper stirred, groaning softly, his eyes fluttering open. The first thing he did, try to scream. Oh no, that's not happening. I rolled my eyes, clamping a hand over his mouth, challenging him before a sound could escape. His wide eyes locked onto mine, and I leaned in, not enough to be threatening, but close enough to make my presence known, close enough to finally use my power of hypnosis. "Welcome back to the land of the living, sweet pea," I murmured. "How's it feel to be awake? Or should I say, alive?" Jasper blinked up at me, my power failing on him as his body tensed, his breathing quick. But beneath the fear, I saw something else, determination. He was terrified, but he was trying to be brave. I could see in the way that he swallowed hard, in the way his hands clenched into trembling fists. "You're real," he whispered. "You're a vampire, and I'm supposed to just accept that?" I chuckled, tilting my head as I studied him, trying so hard not to show fear. How utterly fascinating. "Oh, I'm real." My lips curled into a slow grin. "And you're going to get used to that fact, whether you like it or not." I let my breath brush his ear, feeling the pulse in his neck, and for the first time, I didn't have the urge to feast on his blood, but rather mark him as mine. "You belong to me now. Might as well start getting comfortable." His lips parted as if to argue, but he hesitated. His eyes darted away for a split second before meeting mine again, his fear barely veiled behind force of resolve. "I don't belong to anyone," he murmured, voice steadier than before. I smirked, leaning in closer, and yet here you are, in my arms, trembling. Jasper inhaled sharply, his jaw tightening. He wasn't giving in easily, and I found myself captivated. For the first time in centuries, something within me softened. "This is insane," he whispered, voice wavering. I traced my finger along his jaw, dark amusement flickering in my gaze. "Maybe, but you're mine now, sweet pea." My voice dropped, something possessive curling in my tone. "And whether you admit it or not, some part of you already knows it." A week later, I slumped against the rough bark of an ancient oak, the crinkled blood bag in my grip lodging with every lazy tilt of my wrist. The crimson liquid slithered down my throat and I gagged. "Disgusting," I muttered, swirling the blood in my mouth like I was at some godforsaken wine tasting. "This tastes like expired cranberry juice mixed with copper and regret." I spat it to the side, eyeing the plastic back in disdain. This was my life now, hunting down stolen blood banks like a desperate junkie and chugging animal blood like some self-loathing vegan, and all because of Jasper. Jasper fucking Rivera. The human who had flipped my entire world upside down. Before him, I could sink my fangs into anyone without a care. Now I was out here avoiding fresh, warm, pulsating human veins like I was on some pathetic diet. And Jasper, bless his oblivious heart, had been avoiding me like I carried the plague. After that night, after whatever the hell had sparked between us, he had gone full-on ghost mode. It was almost cute. Almost. I used to trail him in the shadows, lingering just out of reach, watching from the darkness. But that was the old me. Now I made damn sure that he saw me. Jasper would walk into the hallway, and there I'd be, all smug grins and lazy waves. Hello, sweet pea. Jasper would freeze, stiff as a board, before turning on his heel and practically sprinting off in the opposite direction. It was adorable, really, like a rabbit trying to escape a wolf, completely unaware that the wolf was enjoying the chase way too much. And then there was Sabina, the thorn on my immortal side. She was a 150-year-old vampire with the impulse control of a toddler on a sugar high. Rules didn't exist for her. Restraint? She never heard of it. The woman would sink her fangs into anything warm-blooded and call it a meal. She also had a personal vendetta against Silas. The guy was a 500-year-old psychopath who had thought he ruled the vampire world, and considering he had a habit of taking and brutally killing any human a vampire held dear, I can see why Sabina had a bone to pick with him. He murdered her mate, Noah, a human, and, just to make things messier, Jasper's old classmate. Sabina, she wasn't a fan of that little detail. She blamed Jasper for not helping Noah, which honestly was unfair. Jasper was just a teenager, a scared, helpless boy who hadn't stood a chance against a monster like Silas. But Sabina didn't do rational thinking. She did blind rage and bad decisions. This is why, when she showed up at Jasper's school and announced that she was the newest student in class, I damn near lost it. She dared to befriend him, and Jasper, being the soft heart that he was, let her, because Sabina had introduced herself as Noah's late girlfriend. That was all it took. Jasper had a soft, sympathetic spot for her now. He never noticed the malice in her eyes when she looked at him. I leaned back against the oak tree, watching from afar as she trailed behind Jasper after school was over, her gaze darkening, her fangs peeking out over so slightly as she moved in from behind. Oh, for fuck's sake. With a snap of my finger, she vanished from Jasper's side and reappeared in front of me, stumbling slightly from the sudden shift in space. She growled, her eyes flashing. Really, Xander? She snapped, crossing her arms. That was rude. I raised an eyebrow, and sinking your fangs into my human isn't? She scoffed. Oh please, you don't own him. No, I agreed, my voice dropping to something even darker. But I sure as hell make the rules around here, and you don't get to break them. Her lips curled into a defiant smirk, but then her eyes glinted with something else. You know, she mused, tapping her chin, I wonder what would happen when Silas finds out about your little love affair with the human. Or maybe I could tell him myself. That way, my revenge would be served without even getting my hands dirty. A growl rumbled in my chest, and before she could blink, I had pinned her against the oak tree, my hand tightening around her throat as her feet dangled off the ground. Her already pale face whitened even further. If anything happens to Jasper because of you, I warned with a lethal voice, I'll claw your cold, rotting heart out of your chest and drive a dagger so deep into your heart that not even time will bring you back. Sabina's eyes widened for a fraction of a second before quickly nodding. I let her go, and she dropped to the ground, rubbing her neck with a pout. Then she chuckled. Damn, you really do love him, don't you? I stiffened, and that was all she needed. She grinned, straightening up. I'd say good luck, Xander, but we both know love stories don't end well for our kind. With that, she vanished into thin air. I exhaled, my fingers curling into fists. Sabina was wrong. I'd make sure Jasper stayed safe, no matter what. 2 months later, Jasper's point of view. It had been 2 months with Xander de la Cruz, the same terrifying creature of the night who once scared the absolute hell out of me is now following me around like a damn lost puppy. And not just any puppy, the kind that smirked too much and knew exactly how hot he was and did every cliche I ever read in my fantasy books. And unfortunately, my stupid heart had started falling for it. The first time Xander showed up at my school, he had done it in the most obnoxious way possible, leaning against a sleek black motorcycle like he was modeling for a damn magazine cover. My 2 best friends had practically swooned when he smirked at them. I, on the other hand, wanted to throw a rock at his stupid, perfect face. And then he said it. Named Xander Cruz, soon to be accepted boyfriend of your dear friend Jasper. I had never scowled so hard in my life, but my 2 traitorous friends? Oh, they immediately turned into his biggest fans, bombarding him with questions while I stood there fuming. Sabina, although she didn't really look impressed, there was something about her that didn't set right. Yet she was smirking with Xander, hardly acknowledging her. Everything at that moment made me a second away from walking into traffic. The worst part? Xander wasn't human. He was a vampire, a literal blood-sucking monster, and I couldn't trust him. But even as I tried to keep my distance, my body betrayed me. Because whenever his dark gaze locked onto mine, whenever he got too close, I could feel his cold breath in against my neck. I'd freeze. Not in fear, no, something worse. I would shiver, heart hammering, because deep down I felt something I shouldn't desire. Over time, I stopped jumping whenever he appeared out of nowhere. Stopped yelling whenever I woke up to find him sprawled over my bed like he lived there. Stopped questioning why he always looked at me so damn intensely first thing in the morning. I had let my guard down and now I didn't even mind it. Which led me to this moment. Xander insisting on taking me somewhere, bragging that I've never seen a place like this before. Trust me, you've never seen anything like it, Xander boasted, smirking as he led me through the dense trees. I scoffed. Please, no place on earth could actually render me speechless. Xander shot me a knowing glance. Oh, wanna bet? I shrugged. Fine, if you actually manage to impress me, I'll let you... I paused, searching for a challenge. I'll let you do whatever you want. Xander stilled half a second before he smirked something downright dangerous. Whatever I want? Within reason, I amended quickly. Too late. No take-backs. I rolled my eyes, but then I saw it. We stepped into a clearing, my breath hitched. A waterfall cascaded from the cliffs above, its midst catching the light, forming a perfect arc of rainbows. Butterflies fluttered around us, soft, golden hues. It was unreal. My throat went dry. Okay, maybe I'm a little impressed. Xander chuckled, his breath fanning against my nape. I stiffened. But not out of fear. His fingers ghosted down my arm before entwining with mine, as slowly as he pulled me back against him. God, I want to kiss you right now, he murmured. Heat flooded my face. I swallowed. Well, you did render me speechless. Xander hummed, amused. Tempting. But no, I don't want it just because of some bet. His grip tightened ever so slightly. I want it when you accept me. Completely. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I wanted to say something, anything, but my words just wouldn't come, yet I hesitated. And Xander looked almost sad, but he masked it quickly, flashing a small smile. I've lived for 300 years. I spent 13 of them watching over you. If I have to, I can wait an eternity. I didn't know what to say, so I stayed quiet. Xander then pulled out something from his pocket. A locket. It was old and slightly eerie, but something about it felt comforting, protective. This is something I never thought I'd give anyone, he said, fastening around my neck. But I want you to have it. It'll keep you safe. I frowned, fingers brushing over the cool metal. Safe? Am I in danger? Xander turned to face me. As long as I'm here, no one will touch you. An unspoken emotion passed between us as I swallowed hard. What if I need protection from you? Xander's expression didn't change. Then I'll protect you from me too, even if it costs me my existence. For the first time, standing this close and hearing the honesty in his voice, I didn't feel threatened. I felt warm when Xander leaned in to press his lips softly against my forehead, and I noticed something. He didn't look as strong as before. His veins stood out slightly against his skin, a faint weakness lingering in his stance. You're surviving off those blood banks and rabbit's blood, huh? I muttered. Do you crave for the real thing? Xander smiled. I won't do anything that makes you loathe me, even if it weakens me. I scoffed, and yet you talk about protecting me. In a blink, Xander grabbed me by the nape, his gaze burning into mine. If it's about protecting you, he said fiercely, I'll die 1,000 times over. Because being with you, that alone gives me enough strength to set the whole world on fire. I should be terrified, but I wasn't. I was already falling. A week later, okay, fine, I admit it. I've fallen for that smug, annoying, ridiculously handsome vampire. I twirled the locket Xander had given me near the waterfall. The memory's still fresh. The way that he held me like I was the most precious thing in the world. My heart raced even now. I wasn't going to deny it anymore. I was ready to tell him that I wanted him. Since Xander had been suffering these disgusting blood bags and animal blood to avoid scaring me, I figured I'd do something nice. So, I bribed a shady hospital worker and got some fresh blood bags. Armed with my grand romantic gesture, I made my way to his home. And no, it wasn't like a coffin like I once joked. Xander lived in a beautiful designed cave house, intimidating yet eerie and cozy. I pushed open the door, excitement bubbling, only for it to freeze into sheer terror. The place was in shambles. Furniture toppled, walls cracked, and at the center was Xander in his black t-shirt ripped, streaked with blood, his eyes dark and wild as he plunged a dagger into Sabina's stomach. I screamed. Xander's head snapped up, his eyes widening in shock. Sabina crumpled onto the floor, her face twisted in pain. He took a step toward me. Jasper, stay away! I shouted, stepping back in horror. The blood bag slipped from my hands, bursting open the floor. The scent of iron thick in the air. My stomach churned. His expression flickered with hurt. Let me explain. Explain what? My voice shook. That you were exactly what I always feared? A blood-sucking monster? Something in my face shattered, but I couldn't stay. I turned and ran, his voice calling after me. Desperate, pained, but I didn't stop. And then, just as I thought I was free, someone stepped in front of me. A tall figure in an expensive suit, his presence excluding danger. I barely had time to react as he looked straight into my eyes, his orbs changing colors before everything turned hazy. Then, darkness. Xander's point of view. I was pissed, and I knew it was Sabina's fault. It always seemed to be someone else's fault, but this time, it was hers. I was hunting for Jasper, my love, and instead, I was hunting for a traitor. Sabina had ruined everything, and she was acting helpless with her damn excuse of saving Noah. The same guy we all thought was dead, but it has been in captivation of Silas this whole time. Yeah, no, I wasn't buying it. I barely survived this shit with Silas after the moment with Jasper near the waterfall. Yes, the bastard cornered me that evening, and the conversation with him had me sweating bullets. You smell different. Almost like a human. Silas sniffed deeply. I clenched my teeth. The last thing I needed was Silas sniffing around, figuring out what I'd been up to, especially with Jasper. Just trying a new scent out. Earthly, you know. Silas smirks, narrowing his eyes that change color. Sweet. Intoxicating, even. The bastard had eyes sharper than a hawk's. I barely dodged his suspicion. Barely. I've been on edge since then. Sure as hell not letting Jasper take off that locket. But now, everything has gone downhill after Sabina messed up. I wasn't having it when I saw Sabina tonight, walking out of the woods with a backpack in hand. It didn't take long to smell it, the sick, decaying scent of Silas on her. I didn't need to ask, but I did anyway. The bitch bid my Jasper's existence and his involvement with me to that bastard Silas, and the bag holds Jasper's belongings to let Silas know how Jasper smelt, just to save her love. Noah. I was livid as I grabbed her when she tried to bolt, and what followed next was a gruesome fight. The fight that started in the woods, and then we crashed through my house. That bitch tried to plunge a dagger into me, but I was livid as I overpowered her and snatched the dagger before stabbing her in the stomach. I didn't aim for her heart, as I wasn't trying to kill her, but just slow her down. But then, Jasper's scream. Hearing him cry out at the moment shattered me. I tried to call him and explain everything, running behind him, but then he was gone, vanished, like the damn wind. Until I caught the scent of Silas in the air, and I understood Jasper was in Silas's captivity. I was going to burn Silas's damn empire to the ground. No one touched what was mine. Jasper would be safe, and I would make sure of it. Jasper's point of view. The mansion was silent, its luxury only adding to my fear. After an hour, I heard slow, dangerous footsteps. The man entered, his eyes red, locking onto mine. "Calm down, Jasper," he said with a hypnotic voice. His gaze flicked to my locket before he chuckled. He gestured to a girl who offered her wrist, and without hesitation, he bit into it. She paled but obeyed when dismissed. "Who are you?" "Silas, an old vampire, older than Xander," he smoothly said. My blood ran cold. He knew Xander? His lips curled eerily as he inched closer to me. "Oh, you think you know him? He has told you how he lures humans in, makes them believe that he loves them, then drains them dry. That locket is not for your protection. It marks you as his next prey." My heart pounded. "And how are you different?" Silas chuckled. "I don't kill them. Xander does. You saw what he did to Sabina." Ice filled my veins as he continued coming closer. "And I can help you, Jasper. But you need to take that locket off." I hesitated, finger tightening around the locket. Then it flared with a blinding light. Silas hissed, stumbling back. And came the roar of Xander. He stormed in, fighting the guarding hostages, bloodied, and his already pale skin turned blue. My heart dropped at the sight. Silas growled, "Jasper, throw that locket away." "Don't," Xander pleaded. "Sweet pea, please. He's lying." Silas's voice turned razor sharp. "Look at me, Jasper, in my eyes, and take that locket off now." I almost did. My mind blanked, fingers twitching toward the locket. Then Xander tackled Silas, and chaos erupted. Silas was winning, Xander weakening, until Sabina barged in, her fangs out as she tried to drag Silas off of Xander. My brain freezing. No, Sabina was a vampire too? Silas hurled them both aside and turned to me, his eyes changing color and patience gone. "Take it off." I was already on the way of being dazed until Sabina struck the dagger in Silas's back. He snarled, and I snapped out of the daze. "Jasper, Xander never lied to you. He was always a savior. Please, Silas is tricking you to make you his next puppet." Sabina's voice was urgent. I couldn't breathe as I watched Xander, pale as a ghost, veins pulsating under his skin. Panic rushed through me, and I shot forward, desperate to reach him. His eyes were barely open as I took his head in my lap, and suddenly I saw the way Silas looked at me with that hungry look. "Xander," I choked with heavy emotion. "I'm sorry. I didn't believe you, but I do now. I accept you. I do. You're mine, Xander. Just please don't die on me." Xander's barely conscious smile was a knife to my heart. "Maybe we weren't meant to be together." And I sobbed in panic. "Jasper, don't listen to this fool. He needs human blood. Save him!" Sabina's voice interrupted my panic. Without thinking, I offered my wrist to him, but he grunted, shaking his head in denial. I felt a flash of frustration. "If you don't, I will take this locket off and give myself to Silas. I swear to God I will." Xander's eyes snapped open with fury, and before I could even register what was happening, he grabbed my wrist. His fang sank deep into me with a force that nearly knocked me out, and before I could comprehend the pain, I was flung away by Silas. My head was spinning, and Xander, he was livid. A fight broke out, Xander against Silas, and damn, Xander fought like an animal, but Silas somehow overpowered Xander, pinning him down. My heart pounded in my chest until I found the dagger, and without thinking, I threw it. "Xander, catch!" His hand shot out, catching it, and one swift move, he buried it into Silas' chest, and he crumpled right over Xander, who growled and threw Silas aside. I didn't know what came over me. I ran straight to Xander's arms, knocking the air out of his lungs, but before I knew it, I was crying. My heart was raw as I apologized. "I'm sorry, Xander. I should have believed you." He held me tight, his body relaxing. "No grudge, Jasper, my love, my sweet bee. I have you now, and that's all that matters." His words calmed me. Then Xander told Sabina that he would be breaking Silas' spell and asked her to get the hostages and Noah too. Noah? My breath caught. He had been alive this whole time? Sabina moved quickly, and Xander pulled me out of the mansion before he set the whole mansion on fire. My heart hammered. The scene in front was spine-chilling. But then I saw Sabina with Noah and the hostages safe outside. My heart soared seeing Sabina and Noah reunited, tears in their eyes, and everything felt worth it. I tugged at Xander's hand and he arched his brows. "I was wrong. You're not a monster. You're an angel. My beautiful angel." His lips curled into a beautiful smile as he brought me up closer, cupping my face. "I'm glad you weren't one of them, sweet pea. I'm glad I could show you my dead humanity. All because of you." I leaned in his touch before pursing my lips playfully. "Well, this is the second time that you left me speechless. I think it's time you get your reward." He chuckled as the next thing I did was smash my lips to him, and everything else faded away. I was finally claimed by my vampire love. Conclusion. Months later, life settled into a dangerous rhythm, one where Xander and I thrived in each other's presence. I never thought I'd find peace in the arms of a vampire, but now I couldn't imagine life without him. You know, you'll stay young forever, but I'll get old and decay, and then eventually, poof, I'm dead. I teased him one evening after a makeout session in his cave home. Xander's grin was dark and seductive. "Then I'll just have to turn you into one of us. That way, I'll never have to watch you wither away." I leaned in with my playful tone. "Guess I'll be your eternal snack then." Xander chuckled, pulling me closer. "Only if you're willing to stay forever." And with that, our eternity began. What would you do if you had the chance to live forever with someone who could make you immortal? Would you embrace it, or fear what you might lose along the way? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force. And as always, stay wholesome.